Just because the temperatures drop a little bit in autumn doesn't mean to say we have to pack our kit away. Paddling in the winter can be absolutely magical with beautiful conditions, less traffic on our waterways. Paddling with our friends at this time of year can be absolutely amazing. There are a few considerations we need to make though in terms of our kit and our equipment and our planning. One of the key points to paddling in the winter is planning our paddle. So that's taking into consideration the weather, the water conditions, the water temperature, and where we're paddling. There's lots of things available on the internet, from weather apps to planning apps, to make sure that we're really prepared before we go out on the water. Things change a lot quicker in the winter. Wind picks up, temperatures can be a lot colder, and also rain can turn to snow in certain places where you're paddling. Water temperatures, we know in the winter, is a lot cooler and gets colder progressively through the autumn, late into the winter. So we also need to plan about this, being prepared that if we do end up in the water, we're dressed appropriately and know what action to take. We also need to consider having a plan B, maybe a C and a D as well, that on that particular day and the paddle that you've been planning all week, you might need to change it, or on occasion, just completely leave your kit in the car and go home, saving it for another day. As our paddling transitions through the seasons from spring, summer, autumn, and now into winter, we also need to think about transitioning our clothing and what we're wearing to paddle in. So spring and summer, we might be wearing shorts, neoprene like Neoflex, but as the temperatures drop into the winter, we need to start thinking about a different system for clothing. And we can do this by layering. Rather than just carrying one layer, we can carry multiple layers. So on the bottom, next to our skin, we can wear some thermals and then build on those thermals depending on the temperature, resulting in an outer layer which is wind and waterproof, like a jacket, pants, so separates, or a full dry suit. The same applies to our PFDs. In the spring and summer, we might be wearing an inflatable belt like the Glide, but coming into autumn and now into winter, we need to start thinking about wearing a foam PFD. That can offer greater warmth before we get on the water, while we're paddling, and also while we get off. And that warmth is kept around our core. In addition to that, a PFD with pockets allows us to carry some extras. So I might be carrying my gloves in my pocket and maybe a spare hat. There are lots of different options for keeping our hands and our head warm during our winter paddling adventures. On our hands, we can use gloves, we can use mitts or even pogies. And for our head, we can use beanies, neoprene hats, and even a balaclava. So in winter, our outer layer can be one of two things. We can use separates, which are a trouser or a bib with a jacket over the top, or we can use a one-piece dry suit like this. The similarities between all three items will be the fabric, but they work in slightly different ways. The separates, a trouser or a bib, can be worn with socks, and then they can be tightened up around the waist with a jacket then over the top. That allows us to take the jacket off, maybe add some layers quite easily, and then carry on with our paddle. The dry suit is one piece, so it's sealed at the feet, it's sealed at the wrists, it's sealed at the neck, and the final seal is the zip, which you climb through and then do up before you start your paddle. Is if water gets into the separates or into a dry suit, will I sink? Well, the answer is no, especially if you've got your PFD on. However, it might be more challenging to move around if you're completely waterlogged to get yourself out to the side or back to your craft. What do you wear under your separates or your dry suit? Well, starting from the feet up, I wear a nice warm pair of socks with enough room to wiggle my toes around, keeping my feet warm during those colder months. And then working my way up, I wear a thermal wicking layer, which can be thermal bottoms, a thermal top, or underneath a dry suit, I might often wear a one-piece thermal. In addition to that, it allows me to add thermal layers on top, which can be taken on and off depending on what type of paddle I'm doing and also the temperature. I do not wear any cotton because when it's wet, you get cold. So what keeps the water out and us dry? Working from the feet up again, we've got fabric waterproof taped socks, and underneath these I'm wearing my thermal sock, keeping my feet nice and warm while we're out paddling. We've got two other types of seals then. We've got latex seals and neoprene seals. Latex seals are often tighter and keep the water completely out, and on here they're found on our wrists, keeping our arms nice and dry. And on the neck, a neoprene seal allows a little bit more flexibility, whereas a latex seal on the neck will keep the water completely out under pressure. Do seals leak? Well, as we're paddling, we're moving our wrists around, creating tiny little channels. And as our hands are in the water, we do find occasionally some water seeping through those seals. The same applies to the neck as we move our heads around when we're paddling, and also if the neck seal is under pressure. Wearing a dry suit, before we go paddling, we burp the suit, releasing the air out of it. But if we do end up in the water, it's important that we also do that again because not all the air would have come out. So we slowly release the neck seal, allowing the air out. Why might my feet be damp? Well, when we're paddling, it's a physical activity and we're sweating, body's giving off moisture. The majority of that moisture is taken out through the breathable fabric of the suit you're wearing. But on occasion, any moisture that's left will fall down to the sock, giving you that occasional damp feet. Paddling through the winter can offer us some magical moments of brilliant scenery, crystal waters, not much traffic around, and an all-round wonderful experience.